Unsightly Opinions. My name's Tamara. Today I want to talk about Charles Bonnet syndrome. We're going to get into what it is, how it affects people, my experience, and some tips and tricks on how to deal with it if you experience it. Charles Bonnet syndrome is a visual hallucinatory disorder that occurs in up to 1 in 2 people who experience vision loss or have low vision. It is most commonly reported amongst individuals who are elderly because that is the largest subset of individuals who experience vision loss. It is not limited to people who are completely blind. People can experience a wide range of visual hallucinations, ranging from simple shapes or colors, to fireworks, to people, to objects, to complex scenes, and can even range in the fantastical and can include creatures like dragons, fairies, or historical figures. Hallucinations can be stationary or they can move, they can be monochromatic or full color. The images that people see are considered phantom images, and they may be varying degrees of opacity. So they may appear solid or they may appear fluid and transparent. I know many people probably hide their Charles Bonnet syndrome or hide their experience with Charles Bonnet syndrome because of the stigma of the word hallucination. Not all hallucinations are mental health disorders. People with Charles Bonnet syndrome do not have a detachment from reality, do not have changes in sensation or awareness, and do not experience the hallucinations as a result of a mental health condition. Most individuals with Charles Bonnet syndrome will understand that what they're seeing is not there. Although, in my personal experience, it can sometimes be startling if something pops up that you weren't expecting to be there. I think it's something that we need to talk about more because so many people with a visual impairment will experience it at some point in their life. And while it is more common with people with progressive vision loss, it isn't limited to those individuals. To be honest, I had never heard of it until a few years ago, and it's something that I've been experiencing for my entire life. I think it's something that's important to talk about if you have vision loss because it can be quite alarming and startling if you start seeing things that aren't there. Charles Bonnet syndrome can be distracting and can interfere with functional vision. While there is no cure for Charles Bonnet syndrome, most hallucinations will decrease or reduce in frequency as time progresses. Many people report improvement within weeks to months of onset, but for some people, like myself, it will last a lifetime. There are many theories hypothesizing why Charles Bonnet syndrome occurs, but no definitive answers. The theory that makes the most sense to me is that when somebody experiences vision loss or when somebody has vision loss but their occipital lobe is functioning properly, the brain is looking for stimulation or looking for information or trying to fill the gaps as best as it can. And in so doing, it creates things that aren't there. And that explains why some people see things that are strange and fantastical and don't make sense. Because our brain isn't working on a conscious level, it's trying its best to fill in the gaps that aren't there, and it's getting it very wrong sometimes. My experience with Charles Bonnet syndrome is interesting because I assumed that what I saw was what everyone else saw. I just assumed people saw floating things in front of their vision and they just didn't talk about it because everybody knew it was a thing. The way it presents for me is I get what I can only describe as electric lava lamp blobs that float in front of my vision, and they're amorphous and they change in shape and they twist and they turn into shapes, but they're very electric and vivid and colorful. Mine are typically blue and sometimes purple, but they are never other colors like orange or yellow. Sometimes they can be white too, but they're always there. It doesn't matter if I have the lights on. It doesn't matter if I have the lights off. They're always there. It's almost like the way your retina creates an after image after a photo is taken, and you see that spot behind your eyes, or if you press on your eyes very gently and it creates those pinpoints of light. It's that kind of electric color. And I have always had that. That's very normal to me, and it can sometimes be very distracting, but I've learned to essentially ignore it for the most part. Sometimes I'll think I'm coming straight on an object and it'll make me jerk and stop until I realize, oh wait, that's not there. So it can interfere with how I navigate sometimes, but I typically just ignore my eyes completely because of how much they play tricks on me. I know other YouTubers like Lucy Edwards and Molly Burke have talked about their Charles Bonnet syndrome never going away, so I guess I'm one of the lucky ones that gets it forever. I'm assuming that it isn't as rare as, because of the incidence being so high and because it's as high as 1 in 2, a lot of people just aren't talking about their experiences. So I'm going to share my experience in the hopes that it makes more people more comfortable to share theirs and talk about it. Because for people who are new to the community, it can be really scary. So I'm hoping that we can reduce some of that fear and stigma and make people realize that it isn't a mental health condition, they aren't losing their mind. It is something that happens when you experience vision loss. Now, finally, I want to talk about a few tips and tricks to help deal with Charles Bonnet syndrome that tend to work to interrupt the signals and change them. For me, I find that it doesn't matter whether I have my eyes open or closed, I experience them everywhere. But I know a lot of people report that if they close their eyes when they're experiencing it, or if they open their eyes when they're experiencing it, it'll cut the signal and it'll reduce the hallucination. For some people, moving into a new space will help. So if you're in your kitchen, going into your bedroom, or if you're in your house, leaving your house, it'll change your brain state. So your brain will stop interpreting or seeing what it's seeing, and then you can go back in and it'll be reset and you won't see those things anymore. Sometimes moving your eyes or changing the direction you're looking rapidly will also reset things. And I've heard that reducing stress can also help reduce the frequency of the hallucinations. In very extreme cases, there are a few prescription medication options available, but I know that they work with limited success. So unless you're really struggling, it might not be something that you want to look into. But that's all I have to say on Charles Bonnet syndrome. I'm really hoping you share your experience down below if you also have Charles Bonnet syndrome. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing, or checking out any of my social media accounts listed down below. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.